in the interest of full disclosure, this is a comedy. It's a little bit of a dark humor sort of take on the one episode of The Office that I ever ended up seeing, sort of spawned this idea of, we have this character who's leading this criminal organization, but he's just the, 5-star Yelp review of a boss, and he's a really friendly dude, and it's kind of, we have these conflicts of wills. He cares a lot about the people who are working for him, but at the same time, he's not necessarily got that killer instinct that allows for longevity in that sort of profession. So yeah, unless anybody has any questions, I think maybe we should just get into this. Well then, with that being said, this is the table read for
Cold Open, Fox, Indiana. Exterior, warehouse, parking lot, dawn. As the camera moves towards the front entrance of the building, a well-groomed, cheery, and effeminate fella steps forward. His name is George Nichols. Next to George is his assistant, Susan, holding several cups of coffee and a folder.
Hey, you guys! Good morning. Happy first day.
Susan hands the coffee off screen.
Susan's bought you some coffee. It's black because we didn't know your orders, and when it comes to dairy, I think it's better to be safe than sorry. Thanks for coming in early this morning. Don't worry, I won't expect you at this time every day. It's just that there's something really special about this place before the hustle and bustle picks up, and I thought it would be a good way to start our little show. Hello, it's George Nichols reporting live. How about we get out of this cold?
George starts walking towards the warehouse entrance. Susan and the crew follow.
Mind your step, by the way, that sidewalk's a little higher than it looks.
Susan holds the door open, letting both George and the crew enter. Interior warehouse, main floor, day. It's pitch black.
Hang on a second, let me just find the light switch, and...
The lights flick on, illuminating the floor.
There we are.
On one side of the warehouse, there's rows of marijuana plants, as well as tables covered in cocaine and weighing scales. On the other side, there's an assembly line with piles of unassembled stuffed toys. George steps in front of the camera.
Does anybody want any creamer or milk? We have soy.
End of Cold Open. Act 1. Interior warehouse, main floor, day. An eclectic ensemble of heavily tattooed, intimidating floor workers shuffle to their respective stations as they enter. They're all wearing matching uniforms.
So, I'm the CEO here at Tidy LLC. It's a nonprofit that I set up to help give back to the city of Fox.
Among the workers is a woman named Kendi Butler. Unlike the others, she's not in uniform and is headed for the infirmary station.
It's also a money laundering front for another little operation called the Scallywags.
Interior warehouse, George's office, day. George is at his desk.
I came up with it myself. We're not technically a licensed entity or even a legal one, but we're hard workers.
Interior warehouse, main floor, day. Having arrived at the station, Kendi puts up a lab coat and picks up a clipboard.
We manage everything in the supply chain from manufacturing to distribution.
Interior warehouse, office, day.
And if I can briefly gloat on behalf of my employees, we've upped our efficiency by 2% since the last fiscal year.
Interior warehouse, main floor, day. The floor workers begin tending to the marijuana plants, weighing out bricks of cocaine and packaging them up into stuffed animals. Interior warehouse, infirmary station, day. George walks over as Kendi is tending to a wounded drug dealer named Larry.
Morning, Kendi.
Hi, George. Wow, so you really hired a camera crew.
Yes, I did.
Is this a good idea?
You know what they say, any press is good press.
I just feel like there's a lot of evidence to the contrary.
Oh, Kendi. Kendi, Kendi, Kendi.
A beat of silence passes as Kendi waits for George to finish a sentence. He doesn't.
Keeping busy?
A little slow for Monday, actually.
Fabulous news. Hear that, Larry? You're gonna make it.
Kendi subtly shakes her head at the camera.
Kendi is our in-house physician. She mainly deals in,
Gun shuttles.
Yeah. So her job's usually a little bit hectic. Luckily for us, she's great at what she does. And she's quite lazy on the eyes as well.
I think you mean easy.
Oh, your words, not mine.
Interior warehouse, George's office, day. George sits behind his desk.
I actually went to university to study floristry. I don't know what it is. I just enjoy the simple elegance of flowers.
Insert of the motivational poster on the office wall that says, It's your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude.
But, public demand for bouquets isn't what it was when I was growing up. Maybe love has died? But in all seriousness, I think it just goes to show that what you study in school isn't necessarily what you end up pursuing as a career.
There's a knock on the door from off screen, causing George to look in its direction.
Ah, Charlie, right on time.
The camera pans to the door to reveal a man in police uniform. His name is Charlie Matthews.
What's going on?
George walks into frame and places his hand on Charlie's shoulder.
It's fun, right? It'll be a nice thing to play at the Christmas party each year, sort of a we were here time capsule situation.
This is a terrible idea.
George ignores him.
Charlie here is our resident police informant. He just keeps us informed about any official police goings on that may give us cause for concern. Isn't that right, Charlie?
Oh, please don't incriminate me on camera.
How long have we been working together now? 3, 4 years?
You started blackmailing me 5 years ago. Where is this footage going?
5 years. Wow. Slow down, Father Time. Am I right? So what have you got for me?
Charlie deflates as he hands George a file, which he accepts and starts flipping through.
There's been a couple of arrests, street dealers, all carrying illicit drugs with the same symbol on its packaging. There's rumors it might be a new player.
Insert photo of the symbol.
A rival gang? Gross.
There's something else as well. Our forensics labs indicated the quality of the product matches previously confiscated samples.
They're selling my drugs?
Possibly.
George grabs him by the lapel.
Do you understand the seriousness of what you're implying right now?
I just got this shirt ironed.
George lets him go.
Oh, sorry about that. It's lovely, by the way, but the scallywags don't have traders. If we were a crew on a ship, the ship would be named the Happy Clam because everyone is just gosh darn satisfied with their gainful employment.
George seems to freeze for a moment, lost in thought.
George, it's time for morning announcements.
Oh, fun! And today's the big day. Okay, we'll deal with this later.
End of Act 1. Interior warehouse, hallway, day. George steps in front of the path of a worker and straightens his lapel.
I'm a big believer in building a sense of community, both in and out of the office.
The worker looks like he could tear him into pieces, but does nothing.
And I think that people should be able to take pride in what they do, even if what they do is manufacturing and selling illegal contraband.
Interior warehouse, main floor, day. George and Susan are stood in the center of a circle of workers.
All right, team. Just a couple of announcements this morning. As you know, starting today, we are officially expanding into the arms business.
The floor workers give a polite round of applause while still managing to look scary.
Yes, it's a big day. And even though I know you all read your memos, wink, wink, I feel like I have to remind everyone that this expansion is going to be very beneficial for the community of Fox. Because with the scallywags at the helm, there will be regulation over who has access to unlicensed firearms.
The floor workers give another polite applaud.
Now, in even bigger news, someone has a birthday today, so let's give a round of applause to Tim. He's turning the big 27 today. Congratulations, Tim.
A menacing thug named Tim stands with his arms crossed as everyone applauds him. Interior warehouse, George's office day.
The scallywags have a clear code of conduct. No selling to minors, no selling to pensioners, and no selling to homeless people. Basically, we don't sell to anyone who's not a part of the workforce.
Interior warehouse, conference room, day. Susan holds up a binder into frame.
It's chapter 1 of the employee handbook. Yeah.
Interior warehouse, infirmary station, day.
Senior year of med school, I couldn't cover my rent. So I went online to find a roommate. Ended up letting this character move in. She told me that she taught a yoga class and would be working from home. Turns out one of her yoga exercises involved blowing middle-aged men in our living room. Long story short, her blowjobs weren't the only thing that got sloppy, and our apartment got raided. In an effort to distance themselves from the scandal, the school expelled us both. I was a week away from graduating. All of a sudden, I had no degree, no apartment, and a massive amount of student loan. I would be floundering if I had not found this job.
What you do is immoral.
The camera zooms out to reveal Charlie standing in the corner.
You know what? You're right. Instead of saving lives as a doctor, I should become a dirty cop. It's a much more respected profession.
I'm being blackmailed.
He mumbles to himself as he walks off screen.
It's different.
Sure it is.
Exterior warehouse, docking bay, day. Tim and an Asian American drug dealer are loading a crate of guns into the back of a van with the words Tidy LLC written on the side.
The first day of launching a new product is always stressful, which is why I think it's important to build a team of people you can trust.
Tim stops just before getting into the van, realizes George is staring at him, and turns to look in his direction. George gives him a thumbs up. Tim reluctantly returns to the gesture before climbing into the van and driving off. Interior warehouse, George's office day.
You know what? I'm not all that nervous, to be honest. All of our market research suggests that guns are a hot ticket item right now. Plus, Tim's one of my best guys. And he doesn't know it yet, but mentioning him at the morning announcements wasn't the only surprise he's getting for his birthday.
Interior warehouse, break room, day.
There's also a chocolate cupcake waiting for him in the break room. I put it on top of his lunch so that he knows it's for him.
George opens the fridge to reveal a chocolate cupcake with a red rose made out of icing sitting on top of a ham sandwich. He smiles at the camera.
I believe if you want people to work their hardest, you have to show them they're appreciated. That's universal, regardless of your industry.
Interior warehouse, George's office, day.
I also got him this.
George holds up a gold Rolex into frame.
I was going to get him a card too, but they seem overpriced.
Exterior warehouse, parking lot, day. Charlie walks out of the building and stops. The camera zooms out to reveal that a tire has been lifted from his squad car and placed in the adjacent parking space.
Every Monday, for as long as I've been coming here, someone has detached a tire from my cruiser.
Interior warehouse, conference room, day.
They don't steal it. They just take it off and set it on the ground next to it. I've never caught them in the act. I don't know how they're so fast at it, but I do know why they do it.
He gestures to his uniform. Exterior warehouse, parking lot, day. Charlie's reattaching his tire as Kendi pulls up in her car and gets out with a bag of food. She glances at Charlie's tire.
Oh, it's Monday. That reminds me I've got to pick up my dry cleaning.
Kendi heads inside.
Ha-ha.
You know, I've never once retaliated.
Charlie never stops looking at his car.
I refuse to sink to their level.
Plus, you're outnumbered.
Plus, you're outnumbered.
George emerges from the inside of the building.
Hurry up, you two. We're going to surprise Tim for his birthday.
But we did that already?
I know. But he was expecting the first one because he knew it was his birthday. It was necessary to be able to get to this surprise, because this surprise is the real surprise, because who surprises someone twice?
Charlie and Kendi both have furrowed brows.
Come on.
George runs back inside. Interior warehouse, break room, day. The camera pans from an exit door over to the lunch tables where George, Susan, Charlie, Kendi, and several drugged out workers are crouched, waiting for Tim. A long beat.
Is he even here yet?
He's scheduled to be back at noon, at which point he and Mitch will come in here to eat lunch.
Who's Mitch?
He's Mitch.
George looks up from the Rolex as everyone turns to look in the direction Susan's pointing. The camera follows Susan's finger to reveal the Asian American drug dealer who helped Tim load the van. He's covered in blood and is stood hunched over by the door. His name is Mitch.
Hello.
Mitch?
Kendi rushes over to help prevent Mitch from falling down.
What the hell happened to you?
I don't know. It's all a little bit fuzzy, but I vaguely remember Tim reaching across the seat and opening my door, then pushing me out the van.
Kendi starts tending his wounds.
Sounds like you do know.
You need to seriously consider that you may actually have a problem here.
You ever seen a sad clam, Charlie?
No?
Exactly.
How did you get back here?
Oh, this just happened like 10 minutes into driving.
Wow. He wasted no time.
I can't believe he rubbed us on his birthday. He clearly had no faith we were going to get him something nice.
We don't know that. We don't know that's what happened. Maybe he thought the deal would be too dangerous for Mitch and he didn't want him to get hurt.
So he pushed him out of a moving van.
George throws the Rolex on the ground.
I could have returned that.
End of Act 2. Act 3. Interior warehouse, George's office, day. George is sitting at his desk with his arms crossed.
There has to be another explanation. There simply has to be. Tim and I were two peas in a pod.
Insert a selfie of George and Tim eating lunch in the cafeteria. George looks upbeat, but Tim looks irritated.
We used to eat lunch together,
Insert a selfie of Tim smoking a cigarette while George drinks a cup of tea.
take breaks together.
Insert a handheld video of George driving along on a freeway with police lights and sirens going off in the background. He moves the phone over so we have a view of the back seat, which reveals Tim clutching at his profusely bleeding arm.
Sometimes we even carpooled.
Tim gestures for him to turn off the camera, and George sticks his thumbs up as he looks down the lens.
I just don't understand how he could do this.
A long beat passes, and he reaches for the phone.
I need to make a call.
Interior warehouse, break room, day. Mitch has got a bandage on his face now.
I'm Mitch, by the way.
Exterior warehouse, parking lot, day. Charlie shuffles out of the warehouse and heads for his cruiser. He stops in his tracks as the camera zooms out to reveal that the tire has once again been detached from the cruiser, but this time it's nowhere to be seen. Furthermore, the trunk of his cruiser is now open.
What?
Charlie runs around to the trunk of his cruiser and looks inside.
They've taken my spare. That's new.
He looks over at the camera crew.
Any chance you guys got footage of them doing this?
The camera shakes as if to say no.
No, of course you didn't.
Interior warehouse, storage room, day. The room is covered from head to toe in drugs and guns. Susan is sat at a computer in the corner as George stands over her shoulder.
Why don't you just tap that button up there?
George touches the monitor.
It's not a touch screen.
Susan types on the keyboard for a beat. George leans down to get a closer look at the monitor, and she stops typing.
Hot breath. Hot breath on the back of my neck.
Sorry.
George returns to an upright position. The computer dings.
Ah, what's it say? What's it say?
Susan scans the charts on the computer file.
Okay, so based on the orders Tim's billed, he should be bringing in a lot more money than he reported on these forms.
How much more?
Rough estimate?
Yeah.
Well, he reported nothing, so
Son of a biscuit!
George kicks a crate and immediately cradles his foot. Susan's cell phone rings and she answers it.
hello? Thanks, Kendi. Yeah, tell her we'll be right over. She's here.
Interior warehouse, main floor, day. Floor workers are manning their station. One scary-looking thug is cleaning his Employee of the Month plaque, which is hanging on a nearby wall. Interior warehouse, George's office, day. Susan is sat in the corner taking notes on a clipboard as George stands listening to grandmother-esque woman as she gives him a report. Her name is Dolores.
My network has informed me that a warehouse on the dock got leased out a few months ago. Since then, no announcements have been made about the nature of the business. No advertisements have been made for any available positions in the warehouse. No activity observed during the day. Now, night is a different story. Trucks coming and going at odd hours. Packing crates being dropped off and shipped out. My guess would be that someone's looking to go into the business for themselves. And the fact that they've not approached you yet would suggest that they mean to set up shop without your permission.
Ooh, need? I mean, it would have been nice if they asked, but I've never been a stickler for needing permission.
You mentioned this Tim earlier, and you think he's on the take.
George looks at Susan. She shrugs her shoulders.
His paperwork might suggest that.
Then, professionally, I tell you, you made a boo-boo. You're too lenient with your crew, and they're taking advantage. This guy's smart, he knows the business, and if he's made an open move like this, you can bet it was calculated. This could prove very bad for you.
Thank you, Dolores. Your help is always appreciated.
Nonsense. I'm happy to oblige. It keeps me busy and out of that wretched retirement home.
Dolores stands up and begins hobbling very slowly towards the exit.
Can I call you a cab?
No, you needn't bother. I drove myself.
Dolores opens the office door and walks out.
My mentor. A 50-year career in the business, there's a rumor that her mother ended Al Capone.
Before the door closes, Charlie and Kendi walk in.
Well, what'd she say?
It turns out that Tim is not the stand-up arms dealer that I thought he was. And it looks as though the scallywags are about to have a competitor in the market space.
Oh,
Also, Dolores is under the impression that I'm too nice of a boss. Can you believe that?
Yes, absolutely.
that's
It's a miracle
ridiculous.
something like this hasn't
no,
happened
no.
before now.
We hear footsteps getting louder, and everyone's attention shifts to the workers from the cocaine department as they run past the office window towards the far wall, touch it briefly, then turn around and run back the other way. They're having a race. They look on for a beat until George breaks the silence.
Well, so what if I'm nice? We still meet our quarterly goals, and my team loves coming into work.
Because their salaries are outlandish.
I'm not sure it's necessarily a realistic long-term business model in this industry.
And if you don't start toughening it up soon, we could all be in trouble. That wouldn't be very nice, would it?
I just hate confrontation.
George glances at the photo of the symbol in Charlie's file, which is open on his desk.
Well, if HR hadn't got shot in a turf war, you might have been able to come up with an alternative solution.
Charlie, you're a genius.
George dials in a number to the intercom system.
George?
What's happening?
Interior warehouse, break room, day. Mitch limps over to the fridge, glances left and right, and then opens it up and takes out the cupcake. He goes to take a bite when the intercom system blares to life, causing him to drop it on the floor. Splat!
Attention, scallywags! In light of recent events, I've decided to close the warehouse early today. I know that a lot of you are probably disappointed by this news.
Interior warehouse, main floor, day. Most of the floor workers cheer except for the thug stood by his plaque who looks disappointed.
But the truth is, I need you all to go home and rest because starting tomorrow, you're really going to need your strength. Some of you may have heard rumors that our former associate Tim has decided to set up business for himself. Unfortunately, these rumors appear to be true. Tim has shown us his true colors, so starting tomorrow, we will officially be
Interior warehouse, George's office, day. George grabs the mic for the intercom system.
forced to complete a company-mandated refreshment course on our HR policies, thus preventing the likelihood of a similar event from occurring in the near future.
Charlie and Kendi look defeated. Interior warehouse, main floor, day. The workers look puzzled by George's diction.
For all further inquiries, please consult with Susan.
We hear the intercom system click out as the transmission ends. Interior warehouse, George's office, day. Charlie turns towards Susan and raises his hand.
Hi, Susan. I have a question. Is your boss completely out of his mind?
Charlie, think about it. This refresher course will help us determine who is most suited to be the new head of HR. We can then get that person to set up a meeting with Tim and myself to discuss his peaceful and amicable return to our organization.
Charlie turns and walks out. Kendi's expression suggests she wants to do the same.
This'll work, Kendi, trust me.
Hope you're right.
Kendi exits. Interior warehouse, break room, day. Mitch raises his head into frame, dusts off the cupcake from the floor, takes a bite. Exterior warehouse, parking lot, day. Kendi files out of the warehouse along with several other employees and wanders off in the direction of her car. Hearing laughter off screen, she turns her head in its direction. She sees Charlie sat in the front seat of his cruiser, barely acknowledging the workers laughing at the fact that he's missing a tire. You all right, Charlie? You seem a little deflated. Kendi idles by her car and waits for the rest of the workers to drive off. Once they've gone, she pops her trunk, pulls out her spare tire. Charlie doesn't notice Kendi until she taps on his window.
Do you know why I pulled you over?
Charlie rolls down his window.
What are you doing?
My daily act of charity.
Please. Like you do charity every...
You want the tire or not?
Yes, please.
Charlie exits the cruiser to help her put it on. Interior warehouse, George's office, day. George exhales in a horse-like fashion for a beat.
Boy, big day, huh? It's usually a lot less hectic around here.
George's cell phone rings.
Excuse me 1 second, sorry about this.
George answers his phone.
Hi, Bill. Of course I know what today is.
A frantic look overtakes George's face and he begins panicking, or packing.
Yes, I am aware that I'm supposed to be hosting the book club tonight. I'm cooking a duck with an apricot chutney as we speak.
George makes a dash out of his office. Interior warehouse, main floor, day. The camera crew follows after him.
I know you're at the front door, but I only have so many free hands. You'll have to wait a minute.
Exterior warehouse, parking lot, day.
I'm sorry. Well, ringing the bell isn't going to help.
George jumps into his car.
What? You didn't ring the bell, then who did? Because I distinctly heard the sound of wind chimes.
George shuts his car door and turns on the ignition. The tires screech as he careens out of the parking lot, causing the crew to jump back onto the sidewalk. The camera operator trips and stumbles. We hear a thud followed by a purse hitting the ground.
Hey,
The camera veers around on Susan. We see that her purse is spilled all over the sidewalk.
watch where you're going.
The cameraman and the boom operator both attempt to help pick up some items, but Susan intervenes.
Just leave it, okay? I got it.
She throws the remaining items in her purse, rises to her feet, and storms off towards the car. The camera follows her as she leaves until the boom operator nudges the cameraman off screen, and the camera spins towards him, framing his chest. The boom operator holds up a small plastic bag full of drugs into frame. It contains the symbol from Charlie's file. The camera spins back on Susan's car as she pulls out of the parking lot and disappears. End of Act 3. End of show.